Should be live right now. I'm going to check real quick, see if we're live. Maybe. Not seeing it. Do you see it? Oh, you see him live? Okay. All right. The wife is saying that I am live, so I'm not seeing it on my end, but I trust her. So, all right. I hope you all are doing good. As people are going to roll in here, we're just going to get started. I'm going to start off with my normal thing. Y'all know by now I have an Instagram account. If you don't know, I have an Instagram account, Fantasy Football Huddle. It is my main page that kind of has really started the whole fantasy football huddle thing for me, and started it a few years ago back in college. And so I love making this type of content, guys. Fantasy football is such a huge passion for me, and such a huge thing that I want to help people in the community realize that they can get good at, and I can help them and help you get through your fantasy draft with success, get through your fantasy season with success, get to the championship, win the championship, all that good stuff. We're talking about it either here on the Instagram, on my Patreon page, on Facebook, multiple different ways you can find me, and tons of good content anywhere you look, I promise. But go give the fantasy football page a follow over on Instagram, and then on Patreon, go subscribe, go become a free member, at least a free member, because I'm also posting stuff on there for free. But there's also 3 paid subscriptions that you can give, and you're going to be getting a ton of bonus content, some unannounced stuff that's coming here soon. You're going to get it there first on the Patreon. So make sure you go check that out. Tons of exclusive stuff that you're not going to get here on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. And then also on Facebook, I have a page, Fantasy Football Huddle. I'm posting all my stuff over there as well. So make sure you go and follow over there. And but yeah, without any further ado, we're going to get into the content for tonight. We're talking Bucky Irving. We're talking DK Metcalf. We're talking Trey Henderson. We're talking Dallas Goedert, MHJ, RJ Harvey. We're talking it all. Anything fantasy football that you want to talk about, put it down in the comments. Or if you want to talk about the stuff that I'm talking about, we can get into some topics and some stuff that y'all are thinking as well, because that's mainly what these nights are here for. I'm going to talk about stuff, but mainly I'm here for you, to talk about the things that you want to talk about, to talk about the fantasy questions that you have. That's what these nights are for. So I would utilize them, and I'm going to give you my best so that I can help you all win some leagues this year. So without any further ado, we're going to get into the first topic, Bucky Irving. I've got a couple of things I want to pull up for Bucky Irving. And you all might be sick and tired of me talking about Bucky Irving, but I don't care. I do not care, because Bucky Irving, I'm telling you guys, I had someone comment today that they just don't see the value in Bucky Irving because he goes in the top 10 running backs, which is fair. It's kind of hard to see value when a guy is going in the top 10. But the value, I think there's value in RB10. I don't think he finishes as the RB10. I think he finishes much higher than RB10, like top 5. I don't see how he doesn't finish top 5 this year outside of injuries. But anyways, I've already talked about that before. But he was saying that he just doesn't see the value because he goes that early. Well, here's my thing. Bucky Irving is a value this year, not because he's going in the top, or because he's going as a top 10 RB, even though I think he'll finish well above that. He's a value in my eyes because he's going in the second round, almost the end of the second round. So I believe, and this, I mean, I guess this is kind of a bold prediction for this year, but I believe by this time next year, probably before that, by the time we're drafting for 2026, so by this time next year, Bucky Irving will be going in the first round, like bona fide first rounder. And he may even be going like even bolder than that. And I can see this happening for sure. He will be going in the top half of the first round. So like mid to early first round next year. And that's where the value comes in. Because when you get a guy like that in the second round, that's a steal. When a lot of people don't remember when Tyreek Hill first got traded to the Dolphins, he went in the second or third round of fantasy drafts that year. He ended up as a top 3 wide receiver. So yeah, he was still going as a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy that year, but he was going in the second round or maybe even third round in some of your leagues. That's a league winner. That's a league winner because the next year he was going as a top 5 pick overall. That's the type of value that I see in Bucky Irving this year. And that's why he is such a huge value to me. But we're going to get into something that just leveled up his value from what I already saw in him to like another level. So we're going to pull it up. I'm going to share my screen. Y'all are used to me sharing my screen a lot over here at the huddle. So let's go. Up. There it is. All right. So it says right here, y'all should be able to see my screen. I hope that you can. If not, let me know in the comments. And please, for those of you who just got here or maybe haven't heard my spiel before, get in the comments, get active. That just makes the night go more fun and more smooth. And I love getting to talk to you guys. That's what these nights are here for. These nights are here for you. I love to talk about fantasy anytime, any place. But yeah, these nights are here for you. So get active in the comments. But we're going to get into this little bit here on Bucky Irving. So it says that the Buccaneers head coach, Todd Bowles, told The Athletic that the game has slowed down for Bucky, who improved his pass protection and cleaned up his footwork this offseason. That's big news. And we're going to get into this little piece here. So touching on the profile of Irving's relationship with Buccaneers offensive consultant, details Bucky Irving's diligent offseason habits and critically indicates Irving could play even better than he did in his 2024 rookie season. Buccaneers RB coach Skip Peete celebrated Irving's great vision, elusiveness, and ability to generate explosive gains. Irving finished as the PPR RB13 last season, despite officially starting just 3 games. He started just 3 games. That's Alvin Kamara type numbers in his rookie year. Despite only starting 3 games and playing a backup role on passing downs, should his improved pass protection earn him a larger passing down snap share, he could compete for a mid to high RB1 finish. Now, I love that quote because it's talking about him improving upon his rookie season. And we obviously kind of have expected that. Like Bucky Irving, watching him, he's just a guy who he's just a guy who is going to be a good NFL player. And good NFL players, they improve year after year after year, especially after their rookie year. And this guy played so well in his rookie year. If he improves even just slightly, like he's definitely going to be a top 12 RB. So he definitely lives up to his price. But I'm expecting him to explode from his price and overperform and be a great value this year. But the pass protection thing is the best thing that we could possibly be hearing right now, because we know that Bucky is a great back even if he has the same role, which he's not going to. He's going to have a much, much more larger role in this backfield and in this offense than he did last year. But even if he saw the same role that he did last year, he gives you RB13 numbers. He gives you top 12 numbers. So we already know that. But what we didn't really know for sure, it wasn't a fact yet, but now it is a fact, is that Bucky Irving is looking like a 3-down back. Now, for those of you who don't know what a 3-down back is, a 3-down back is a running back who can play on the early downs, so they can take kind of the short yardage stuff. They can, run to the outside, run to the inside, all of that. They're playing on the early downs, and they can play on third downs, which means that they have an increased chance of getting a target, which is good for PPR numbers because that's catching the ball. That's 1 point. So they have an increased chance of doing that. But because, here's the reason why they get considered a 3-down back, or some running backs are even just considered a 3rd-down running back. Some running backs, they don't play on early downs, but they play on 3rd down because they're so good at this role. Now, the 3rd-down back role is a running back that's really good at pass protecting. So protecting the quarterback in the pocket, and then they can flare out and maybe get an easy reception. So that's why those running backs are so valuable in fantasy when it comes to PPR format leagues, which is what most people play in at this point. I don't know that many people play in standard fantasy football format leagues anymore. But that tends to be less valued in those formats. But most people play in PPR formats. So a 3rd-down running back is very valuable. But a 3-down running back, that's when you're talking about the elite guys in fantasy. The guys like Bijan Robinson, he's a 3-down back. The guys like Saquon, he's a 3-down back. Guys like Christian McCaffrey, he's a 3-down back. Those guys are in the elite status because they can play every single down. They don't have to play in a committee where people fill in for certain roles. And that's the type of language that we're getting from this Buccaneers coaching staff about Bucky Irving. So when we talk about Bucky Irving, we have to now realize that 70% snap share is easily going to happen at this point. 70% snap share is easily going to happen at this point. I don't have a doubt about that in my mind. I think it could even go up to 75%. So that is the gold that we are investing in the end of the 2nd round. So when we're talking about guys like Bucky Irving, we have to now realize that he's not only, filling in for as a 1A running back, he could be the RB1 in this Buccaneers offense. And there is some sort of a difference there. 1A means, you're the lead back, but not by much. 2 Rachaad White's 1B. But RB1, you're seeing a significant chunk of the snaps in this offense. And that's what we have to consider Bucky Irving as, in my mind. So that's great news to hear about Bucky Irving. That's the type of language that makes him a league winner, because he's going to be seeing those targets. He's going to be in on passing downs when he's protecting Baker Mayfield in the backfield. And then if Baker needs an easy pass to move the chains, Bucky's there, and he's the guy getting it. So I love Bucky Irving this year. That's no secret. I know I've talked about it a lot. Like I said, you guys might be getting a little bit tired of it, but I don't care. I'm going to hammer this home so that when draft day comes for you guys, you see Bucky Irving on the clock and you're like, okay, Fantasy Football Huddle has been talking about this guy for months now. He won't stop talking about him. Maybe I take a shot on him, and boom, he blows up. And that's what I'm hoping for you guys. But that's not all that we're talking about when we're talking about Bucky Irving. We need to pull up this other piece of data that I found today. It's from Fantasy Points Data over on Twitter, or X. So make sure that you kind of follow me here, because it can be a little bit hard to follow a little bit. It gets a little more statistical. So in 2024, fantasy points data. This is according to them. This is not under my own research. So if these numbers are not true, which I'm very confident that they are, they're a pretty credible source. So in 2024, they calculate fantasy points per snap. So how many snaps you play, and then you take your fantasy points total for the year and divide that by the amount of snaps you play. Easy calculation. So they've got the top 6 leaders here for that stat. So 2024 running back leaders by fantasy points per snap. Number 1 is David Montgomery, and number 2 is Jahmyr Gibbs, which is pretty insane that they both play for the same team, and they're both generating about as many fantasy points per snap, which is, that's just insane. What a powerhouse that Lions offense is for these running backs. And then number 3 is James Cook, which again, we talked about overproduction on touchdowns. I wouldn't really bank on him doing that type of number again. And then number 4 is Derrick Henry. Had a great season once again. And then number 5 is Bucky Irving at 5th. So every snap, think about this. I want you to understand this. Every single snap that Bucky Irving played last year, he was getting you on average a half a fantasy point. That is insane value. Like just imagine he plays 30 snaps. That's 30 snaps. That's not very many snaps. Like, teams pass the ball over 30 times a game. Imagine he just plays 30 snaps. That's 15 fantasy points a game. That's insane value. That's insane production. That's insane efficiency. That's the type of running back we're dealing with Bucky Irving. But read on down. So he says that this implies that if Bucky Irving gets a blank snap share next year, he should score blank fantasy points per game. So if he sees 90% of the snaps, then he sees 28.9 fantasy points per game. That's enough to be the RB1. That's almost 30 fantasy points per game, which I'm not sure if a fantasy or if a running back has ever averaged 30 fantasy points per game. That's insane. But I don't think he will see 90% of the snaps, but he could. I'm not going to rule it out. But then we go down 80%. That's a little more reasonable, especially if like a injury happens to Rachaad White, or Rachaad White gets traded, or Rachaad White just doesn't want to be there. He kind of, they just lower his playing time a little bit. 80% is more doable. Even then, you've got 25.7 fantasy points per game for Bucky Irving. That's still, compared to last year's numbers, that's still enough to be the RB1. That's more than Saquon average. That's more than Jahmyr Gibbs average. That's more than Bijan Robinson average. Elite numbers. But then you go to 75%, which is what I was talking about earlier. I could see 75%. I could realistically see 75% snap share for Bucky Irving this year. Then he's averaging 24.1 fantasy points per game. That's still the RB1 last year on a per game basis. That's more than Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson again. And then we go down to 66% of the snaps, which is less than I'm projecting him. I'm projecting him 70% of the snaps. So he sees 66% of the snaps, then he's averaging 21.2 fantasy points per game. That's enough to be the RB3 last year. So still really, really solid numbers. And then if we go down to 60%, which is like really close to where he was last year. I think he was at 49% of the snaps last year. Not very far. And like, he will easily, I'm guaranteeing, like I'm guaranteeing he will see 60% of the snaps this year. 60% of the snaps, then he averages 19.3 fantasy points per game. That's enough to be the running back 5 on the year. I just don't see how he doesn't perform as a top 6, top 5 running back this year. I just don't see it. From an eye test perspective, I've watched the film on Bucky Irving, tons and tons of film on Bucky Irving. So I know Bucky Irving has it from the eye test. The eye test tells me that this kid is phenomenal. He's a great runner. He gets the PPR work. He is efficient. He's in a great offense. He checks those boxes. And then from a data perspective, from a statistical perspective, he checks all the boxes as well. Like all of this stuff, you throw it all together. What do you see that tells you he's not going to be a top 10 running back? What do you see that's telling you he's not going to be a top 5 running back? What do you see that tells you he can't? There's not a world where he possibly even could be the running back of number 1 overall next season. Tell me, what world do you see? Like what data, what eye test do you see that points you to believe that in that direction? Because I don't see it. So that's where, and I'm not saying this to, brag or to show off, fantasy stuff. And I could be wrong. You never know. So predictions, there's never a bad prediction until it's wrong. So we have to remember that. I'm not saying that to show off or anything like that. I'm just saying that because I want to help you guys win fantasy leagues this year. And I think that Bucky Irving is a guy who's going to do that. So be confident in Bucky Irving. I'm confident in Bucky Irving. I'm drafting him nearly every single time that I can when it makes sense. But I'm just gonna drive this home until it happens. So that's my Bucky Irving rant for tonight. I've been going at it for 20 minutes now, so we can move on to a different topic. But that's my Bucky Irving rant for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning into that and listening through that. But we're going to move on to DK Metcalf. I know we talked about DK Metcalf when the Aaron Rodgers news broke that he was officially going to Pittsburgh. So we talked about how DK Metcalf isn't a guy that I'm like, oh, we gotta draft this guy a ton now that Aaron Rodgers is there, but he's not a guy that I'm avoiding. So it's been a couple weeks, the noise has kind of settled down a little bit. And I've thought about it a little bit more on DK Metcalf. And the more I think about it, the more I like his value. I think he provides very, very safe numbers at where he's going ADP wise. I think he is in a pretty solid situation. I mean, he is an Arthur Smith offense, so we have to take that into account. That is ideally not something that is a good thing for fantasy numbers, but we won't take that into account too much. But we have to take it into account somewhat because the data is there that does not support a lot of fantasy value in Arthur Smith offenses. But he is in an offense where he's the wide receiver 1 by a country mile. There's no guy on this offense that I see as a potential threat to DK Metcalf when it comes to the receiving game. And then we also have to think he's in a offense that is going to have Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. Aaron Rodgers is still a very good quarterback. He is still a guy who can deliver the ball down the field. He's still a guy who can deliver the ball accurately down the field. He is a really good match for DK Metcalf this year. So we have to take that into account as well. And we have to also take into account that Metcalf is easily going to see a 25% target share. Even in this Arthur Smith offense, that tends to be a little risky, a little bit like we don't exactly know what's going to go on. It's still pretty much guaranteed that DK Metcalf is going to see a 25% target share, which is a good thing. And that's in the elite category of wide receivers in the NFL and in fantasy. So we have to think about that. And we also have to take into consideration that the Steelers offense isn't like, or the Steelers team in general isn't that great. And they're going to be in that mediocre type of category where they're not going to be like blowing teams out. So they're going to be in competitive games. So they're going to have to throw the ball, play smart football, and they have a really good quarterback to do that with. So DK Metcalf is currently going. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen once again. DK Metcalf is currently going as the wide receiver 25. So he's just shy of being a wide receiver 2 option according to ADP. Now, there's several guys I would take DK over that are going ahead of him. So DK Metcalf, he's looking like a value right now. To me, in my eyes, if I can get him as my wide receiver 2 or 3, like I'm doing very well. I'm very happy with the way my team is looking, and I'm feeling confident that he has the potential. Like, look at the stat lines. He didn't do very well last year. That's obvious. He did okay the last couple of years that Geno was there in Seattle, and then we go back to 2021. Like, we haven't seen the DK Metcalf that we know we can get since like his rookie year or his sophomore year, which is unfortunate. And there's a possibility that we never see the DK of those days again. But if there's a year where it's going to happen, it's probably this year. Just because he's in a situation where he's not crowded, the receiver room is all his. Like, it's all his. It is a low throwing volume offense in general, but he's going to see enough targets to where it's going to be a good foundation for him and give him the potential upside that he needs to be a value at wide receiver 25. So, but yeah, there's several guys that are going ahead of DK that I would rather have DK than. Oh, I think that came out wrong. I would rather have DK than some of the guys that are going ahead of him, right? So I'd rather have DK than Xavier Worthy. I'd rather have DK than Tet McMillan. I might rather have DK over Tyreek Hill and maybe over DJ Moore. But I'm going to go safe, and for sure I would rather have DK over Xavier Worthy and Tet McMillan, according to this ADP. So that makes him my wide receiver 23, wide receiver 22. So he's still, a wide receiver 2 for me. Not something that's like, I'm not putting him in, my top 12 or anything like that. Or even like a high-end wide receiver 2. I don't think he does that, but I do think he lives up to his ADP at wide receiver 25. I do think he is a slight value at wide receiver 25. And I'm just excited to see what him and Aaron Rodgers does. I mean, that's kind of Aaron Rodgers' thing, like just chucking the ball down the field. Rodgers supported 2 fantasy relevant wide receivers last year, 2 top 12 guys. People aren't talking about that enough. He supported Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams, who both finished inside the top 12 at the position last year. So that needs to be talked about more. And DK is going to be a beneficiary of that. Even though this is a run-heavy offense, even though Aaron Rodgers is the new guy here, even though Arthur Smith is the coordinator here, Aaron Rodgers has a say. And that's why it took so long to get him to Pittsburgh, because he's just a guy that has to have control of the offense. And, that I'm sure that had to be worked out when they were talking about signing him to the team. Aaron Rodgers is a guy that has to have control of the offense. He has to be, he has to be somewhat of a play caller himself in the offense that he's running. So I like DK Metcalf where he's going. I think if he starts going inside the top 20, he's going too high. and we would have to pull off the reins there a little bit when drafting him. But that's where I see DK Metcalf this year. So I say draft him where he's going. Let's see where he's going on at other sites other than Underdog, even though Underdog typically has the best ADP, in my opinion, because that's where people are paying to every single draft that they're in. So that's where I typically look for ADP. But let's look over here on Fantasy Pros. These are a combination of over 50 experts rankings. So let's see where they have DK Metcalf going. So they have him as the wide receiver 23, which is a little bit higher. So they're a little bit more on the level that I'm at. And I don't really see anybody that he's going behind that I would rather take DK than. So yeah, they have him valued a little more correct in my opinion. So yeah, I like where DK's going. I think he's a good value. I think he's got a lot of potential this year. Definitely upside. I mean, this is a guy who's been in the top 12 before. We've seen it. We know he can do it. We just have to see. We just have to see it come back to life again. And he was one of my breakout guys last year. He was one of the guys that I was like all over. He was a player in the huddle for me. I thought he was going to, break out, and he just didn't. So that was unfortunate. But I think he can at least provide the wide receiver 8 or wide receiver 25 ADP that he has right now. And I definitely think he will be like he can be a top 24 guy easily. So draft him with confidence. And let's move on to the next topic here. So next topic. Let's see. Where do we want to go with this? Let's go with Dallas Goedert. So Dallas Goedert is a guy who I have been kind of he's been flying under my radar a little bit this year, but there is some reason to think that he could be undervalued right now. And this is a guy who, kind of has always been undervalued when it comes to fantasy. Unfortunately, let's see here. I've got a piece of news that I want to share about Dallas Goedert. And it goes into a little bit of why I'm kind of thinking he's being a little bit undervalued right now. So let's look at the news. Let's pull it up. So you should be able to see my screen right now. If not, I'm going to read it anyways. So it says that Dallas Goedert said Eagles offensive coordinator could give him the ball more often in 2025. So guys, with this news, we have to also keep in mind that we cannot take every single bit of news as fact. We can't take every single bit of news as, as 100% it's going to happen. And so that is why we got to draft this player. Like right under it says that Roman Wilson should be a good fit for Aaron Rodgers. Now that's one of the Athletics reporters. And there's a couple of reasons why they think that, but we can't just automatically say, okay, we got to put Roman Wilson in our top 50 wide receiver rankings now because of this news. So we have to take things with a grain of salt, but we also can't just push it to the side. And this is a guy, Dallas Goedert, who has been in the league for years now. This is a guy who's been in this offense for years now, and he's been productive for years now. This is a guy who has seen fantasy success year after year after year. So it says that Goedert said that the OC has made tweaks to the run-heavy Philadelphia offense that could create more opportunity for the team's pass catchers. Throughout OTAs, I've really loved what he's doing with the offense, Goedert said when he asked about the OC who took over the Eagles offense after Kellen Moore was hired by the Saints. Little changes here and there, and I'm really excited for the opportunity just to, with the connection I grew with him the last 4 years, what he sees in me in different ways that he's going to get me the ball. I'm really excited for. Among the game's best yards after catch tight ends, Goddard will enter 2025 as the Eagles' clear number 3 targets behind A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. In 2024, Goddard was targeted on 25% of his routes, the 7th highest rate among tight ends. Goddard's fantasy prospects would get a boost with more looks near the end zone. Last season, he had just 3 targets inside the 10-yard line and 9 inside the 20. So let's break it down. I agree that Goddard is, kind of he's kind of going under the radar, and there's statistics to show that he is among one of the best tight ends in the league in earning targets. He is at 25% targets on his routes last year. So every 4 routes that he ran, he got 1 target. That's really good numbers, and that's really good opportunity for Dallas Goedert. The problem is that the Eagles ran such a run-heavy offense that he didn't get – they weren't throwing the ball enough for him to get the ball, 10 times a game like some tight ends do. But Dallas Goedert doesn't really need that. Like, he's getting the elite targets per route run, so that's really good to know when we're talking about or per routes. So that's really good to know when we're talking about Dallas Goedert, and that's good statistical data. But, when they talk about them changing the offense to be a little more pass heavy, I can see the Eagles passing a little bit more this year. But what I don't see happening is them completely shifting their offense to be a really pass heavy offense. I just don't see it. Number one, because even before the days of Saquon, they were never a pass-heavy offense. And then once Saquon got there, they were especially not a pass-heavy offense. They were actually the most run-heavy offense, and they passed the least amount last year. So this is a very, very run-heavy team, a team that loves to utilize the run, which can you blame them? They have Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and a great offensive line. So this is a team that I do not see changing their scheme and their plan that literally got them to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl for them. I don't see them changing much in that offensive plan. I wouldn't either. But I can see some tweaks to where they are going to get the ball in their pass catchers' hands more, just to create more opportunity, open up the run a little bit more, and just help the offensive flow a little bit. So let's see where Dallas Goedert is going ADP-wise, and we're going to evaluate whether he is a value or someone that we can kind of, say, yeah, I can see it happening, but at his price, it's not like a smash and grab type of thing. So let's look. So obviously we've got, these elite guys up here. He's definitely not going up there. For sure not going up there. But okay, so we see him here at tight end 15. Now, in my opinion, that is a value. I do see value there in Dallas Goedert at tight end 15. I would take him over Colston Loveland. I'm not taking him over any of the top 11 guys. So, yeah, we've got that. So I'm taking him over Colston Loveland. I'm taking him over Tucker Kraft, and I'm taking him over Dalton Kincaid. So for me, Goddard is top 12. So, yeah, you are getting a value when you're talking about Dallas Goedert. You're getting him at the end of your draft with one of the last picks of your draft. And this is a guy who is easily, in my mind, going to put up top 12 numbers because – that's just who he is. Let's look at his numbers over the last few years. Like last year, he was a top 10 tight end in fantasy points. Let's go to 2023. Let's go to 2023 here. 2023, he's top 12. So last year he was top 24. I'm going to pull it up here so that you can see what I'm looking at, so that y'all believe me. I'm not lying to you, okay? I promise. Let's look at it. Let's look at it together. How about that? Let's do this together. Top 10 in 2024. So last year, top 10 tight end. That's awesome. So he's a really big value compared to last year. He's top 12 in 2023. So another top 12 year. And we talk about top 12. We're talking about guys who finish as a tight end 1. So a tight end 1, anytime we're talking about a tight end 1, we're talking about a guy who is finishing at the top 12 of their position, because most leagues you play with 12 guys. So like wide receiver 1, you're talking about a top 12 wide receiver, RB1, top 12 wide receiver, so on and so forth. So when I talk about he's a tight end 1, he's in the top 12 guys. So let's go ahead and look more. So we've got him at tight end 12 in 2023. He was tight end 10 in 2024. Now, in 2022, he was the tight end 5 overall. And he only had 69 targets. So the dude is putting up insane efficiency in 2022. Like insane efficiency when it comes to fantasy points. So we haven't seen him finish below tight end 15. We haven't seen him finish below tight end 20 or tight end 12 so far. And this is the past 3 years. So now let's go to 2021. We've got him at tight end 8. 2020. Tight end 10. 2019. Tight end 12. I can keep going. 2018. Let's see. Okay. So 2018, I don't even know if he was in the league. He was in the league, but here's why he didn't finish. Here's why he finished as tight end 27, because Zach Ertz was still the tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. So you move on to 2019, where Zach Ertz is in he's in Arizona, but he gets traded, or he's in Philly, but he gets traded. I'm pretty sure that was the year he got traded to Arizona. And then Dallas Goedert takes over in the middle of the season. He still finishes in the top 12. So every single year that Dallas Goedert has been the starting tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, he has been a top 12 tight end. And we've seen up to top 5 numbers from him. So we're talking about an extreme value there at tight end 15 on underdog fantasy drafts. That's extreme value. That's something that is being way overlooked. We need to definitely turn up the volume on Dallas Goedert. And I'm not saying that Dallas Goedert is going to be a guy that, oh my goodness, he's going to finish, in the top 3 tight ends. He's going to break fantasy this year. He's going to be the next Brock Bowers. No, I do not believe that. I think if you're talking that type of numbers, like that's insane to think, because he's the number 3 option still in this offense when it comes to receiving, and it's a run-heavy offense still. It's going to be run-heavy, and it's probably still going to be in the bottom 10 leagues when it comes to passing the ball next year. So this is a guy that I'm not saying is going to be in my top 6 rankings, but he's going to be in my top 12. I can guarantee you that. And he's a guy that if I miss out on one of the elite guys going at the top of the draft, the guys like Brock Bowers, the guys like McBride, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, if I miss out on one of those guys, I'm probably going to take a swing on Dallas Goedert at the end of my draft. I'm going to take a swing on Dallas Goedert at the end of my draft, or I'm going to take a guy like Evan Ingram and pair him with Dallas Goedert, or I'm going to take a guy like Hunter Henry and pair him with Dallas Goedert. Some sort of combination of that, and you have a tight end machine. at fantasy that you got for a very, very nice budget, and you were able to fill out those other running back, wide receiver, and quarterback positions earlier on in your draft, and you still get a guy who's going to produce tight end one numbers. So that's what I've got to say about Dallas Goedert. And I just don't see a world where he doesn't finish in that echelon of tight ends as a top 12 guy. So you're getting a value when you're talking about Dallas Goedert. So go draft him. Make sure, you're even on Underdog, when you get a guy like Brock Bowers or a guy like Trey McBride or George Kittle, why not take Dallas Goedert? If one of those guys gets hurt, take Dallas Goedert at tight end 15, and you've got a guy who is immediate plug and play. If something were to happen to one of your elite tight ends, and boom, you've got a top 12 guy who's going very, very cheap, very cheap. So make sure you're drafting Dallas Goedert when it makes sense to. Don't draft him when it doesn't make sense to. If you've already got a tight end, especially in your redraft leagues, if you've got a guy like George Kittle, you probably don't need to draft Dallas Goedert. But, there's a lot of scenarios where it just makes sense to because he's not expensive. So make sure you're doing that. And we're going to move on to Travion Henderson. And I think this is going to be our last guy for tonight. We might get into one or two other guys that I have down here. But it just kind of depends on what happens. Maybe if you guys have someone in the comments we can talk about, we can do that as well. But we're going to talk about Travion Henderson. The more I draft, the more that I look into it, the more that I watch him from OTAs, the more that I watch the college stuff, the film in college, the more I evaluate his prospect profile. I'm loving Travion Henderson, and I put a post out about it last week. Let's pull it up so we can have a reference so that people who join will know what we're talking about. All right. So we've got it pulled up here. I think that Travion Henderson can 100% finish as a top 14 running back in 2025. 100%. I'm not saying he will 100%. I'm just saying he can 100% finish as a top 14 running back in 2025. So this is a bold prediction. So this is, once again, not a prediction that is factual. This is not a prediction that is like for sure going to happen. But in my opinion, I think there's a very solid chance of this happening because when you look at Travion Henderson, he's an elite prospect. Like he's a guy who is insanely efficient. He's insanely efficient on the ground. He's insanely efficient in the receiving game. He was utilized as a 3-down back in Ohio State. So for the Buckeyes, he was a 3-down guy. So he brings that 3-down skill set that we talked about earlier in Bucky Irving that makes him a top 6 running back this year. We see that with Travion Henderson. So that's a really, really good thing to see when we're talking about Travion Henderson. And then we also know that he has a path to the 1A role in this offense. So this is an up-and-coming offense with the Patriots. And Travion Henderson is going to benefit from that. When we talk about running backs, there's so many data points that tell us that when we talk about Travion, or when we talk about good offenses in the NFL, and we talk about good running backs in fantasy, those directly correlate. So oftentimes when you see good fantasy football running backs, they're oftentimes on a good, top half of the league NFL team. That's all it is. So like say you've got, the Baltimore Ravens. They are a good, high-scoring NFL team. Derrick Henry is a direct beneficiary of that. And then you have a team like You have a team like the New York Giants, who at the same time don't have a running back like Derrick Henry, but they they just are not a good team in general offensively. Um, they are going to have a lesser chance of having a good fantasy running back because they're not in the end zone a lot. They're not in the red zone a lot, which can turn into the end zone. They're not on the field as much, which generates fantasy points. The longer you just think about it, it's common sense. The longer you're on the field, the longer your offense is on the field, which is typically how high scoring, high performing offenses are. They're on the field a lot. When you're talking about a team like the Giants, they're not on the field a lot. So teams that are on the field a lot offensively have a higher chance of generating fantasy points. So that's what we're talking about. And I know that the Patriots were not a good NFL team last year. There's no denying it. And it directly correlated to fantasy. Ramondre Stevenson was not a great and probably not even a good fantasy running back last year. I can't remember where he finished, but it was not anywhere near what I was hoping for. But this is a team that had a rookie quarterback last year. This is a team that had little to no protection for that rookie quarterback last year. This is a team that had a first-time ever NFL head coach and an overhauled coaching staff last year. This was the first year of post Bill Belichick. This was an NFL team that had very little weapons in the receiving game. And now we're talking about an offense that has a sophomore quarterback who I still think is an elite guy, a guy who can perform as a really great prospect. Who did perform as a really great prospect, and I evaluated him really high and really well as an NFL quarterback. So this is a guy who I think can be a top 10 quarterback in the league and in fantasy, honestly. But this is a team that overhauled their coaching staff and now have a proven coach in Mike Vrabel and a guy who has been with the Patriots several times and has won several championships, several Super Bowls with the Patriots in Josh McDaniels, and has made several high successful. You can say all you want about him and the Raiders and him and the Broncos, but when it comes to the Patriots, for some reason, he knows what he's doing then, but when he's a head coach for the Broncos or the Raiders, not so much. But when he's been with the Patriots, he's been very good at generating very, very good offenses. So that we cannot underlook that. We can't let that go under the radar. And then we're talking about more pass protection. So they drafted, I forget his name sometime, Will Campbell. They drafted Will Campbell to help protect Drake May in this offense and, lead to less sacks. They draft Travion Henderson, who's a 3-down back and is the best, 100%. He's the best third down running back in this draft class. So we've got Travion Henderson to help protect on third downs. And then we're also talking about a completely overhauled weapon system in this New England offense, which is going to lead to more playing time for the offense. They're going to be in the red zone a lot more, which leads to the end zone a lot more in fantasy, which Travion Henderson is going to be a direct beneficiary of that. So a guy like Travion Henderson going as the RB22, so a low-end RB2, some people think that's a little high. Some people think he should be going a little bit lower than that. It can be risky. I'm not going to lie. I can see there is some risk because we don't know the situation that he's going to walk into. We don't know how this offense is going to perform. This is all projected stuff, a lot of young guys in this offense, a lot of new stuff in this offense that we haven't seen before. There's reason for some doubt, but I believe that Travion Henderson is such a good prospect. I believe that he is going to take over this backfield with the 60% snap share. And I believe that we are going to see at least top 20 numbers from Travion Henderson this year. I believe in him so much so that I see, like, this is such a similar, to me, such a similar situation that Bucky Irving walked into. He walked into a running back room that had a proven running back who was good but not great. A offense that was good but not great yet, and then they turned into a great offense last year. And then Bucky Irving was kind of slept on. He was way more slept on than Travion Henderson is right now. But besides that, he was being slept on. And then, he takes over as the 1A in the backfield and he goes kaboom, like blows up in the fantasy landscape. And now Bucky Irving is a fantasy football household name, or he should be, and he will be after this year. That's my prediction. But I believe that we're going to see a Travion Henderson rookie breakout this year because he just checks all those boxes. And in my eyes, he is already a more talented running back than Ramondre Stevenson. You can call it crazy because he's a rookie and he hasn't taken an NFL snap before. We've never seen him play. Yes, we have. Go watch Ohio State football last year. Go watch Ohio State football over the last couple of years. You can see him play, and he plays pretty well. So Travion Henderson is a guy that I'm going to also be hammering home. He's a value at running back 22, and I just don't see how he's not a top 20 running back in fantasy this year. And I'm predicting top 14 numbers. Top 14 numbers is my bold prediction, with room to go higher than that, honestly. So that's where I'm at with Travion Henderson. But if you guys have anything to say about it in the comments, please comment right now. We're going to be wrapping up the stream here soon. I do want to do a draft. That's kind of like been our tradition a little bit here. We're going to do a draft. I think it's fun. It's a good way that we can kind of walk through. We can walk through fantasy stuff together, certain situations in your draft, stuff like that. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go on Fantasy Pros. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to copy this link, and I'm going to put it in the chat. I see a couple of you are live here with us. Excuse me. I see a couple of you are watching right now. There's a link in the comment section right now, so go check it out. It's to a sleeper mock draft. We can do a mock draft together, and we can have some fun with it. But if you don't want to join, I'm going to be doing it on Fantasy Pros here live. But I do see a few of you are live right now watching. So click on that link, put your name in for a team. We'll set it up, and we'll draft together. I think that would be fun. All right. Let's see if anybody's in here. Yeah. I don't see anybody yet. I'll give you all a couple minutes to get in. Yeah. I'll wait a couple of seconds for y'all to get in this draft. And please let me know in the comments if it's not working for you or something like that. But yeah, I think this will be a good opportunity for us to kind of get into some competitiveness. It'll be good for me. It'll be good practice. I'm going to share this screen instead. So I don't see anybody in here yet. I'm going to give it another 2 minutes. Another 2 minutes, and then we're going over to Fantasy Pros. So let's see. Yeah, I've been doing mock drafts. I've been trying to do one a day, but that I don't think I've done one a day. I don't think I've done one a day yet, but I try to do several a week just to get the practice in. But I'm going to give it another minute, and then we're going to Fantasy Pros. Like I said, please tell me if the link isn't working, and we can try to figure it out. But the link is in the comments. and you should be able to click it and join this draft. Claim a team. We've got like 30 more seconds. Do 30 more seconds, and then I'll just solo run it on Fantasy Pros. That don't bother me at all. Still don't see anyone, but that is okay. That is all right. Okay. Well, that's all right. Maybe we'll do it another time. So I am going to go ahead and hop over to Fantasy Pros, and we'll do a mock draft there. I'll just solo run it. I will just solo run it. Okay, let me share my screen here. All right, let's go. So 2025 season, we're going to do PPR, Snake, Basic. Number of teams, 12. I did the 4th draft position last time. And then I think I did the 10th, pick number 10 the time before that. So we haven't, we've definitely got some potential to get some other, let's see, where am I at here? Where am I at? I have lost my tab. Okay, there we go. All right. So we're going to do, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end. We'll do 1 flex. 7 bench. Okay. All right, let's randomize the draft order. What order are we going to get today? Oh, we're not going to do 4th again. Let's do something different. Okay, we got 2nd overall. All right, let's start this thing. All right. So we've got Bijan, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb available to us right now. Right here, it's kind of a hard pick for me. I mean, we could basically go with literally whoever we want. If you're a Jahmyr Gibbs guy, you can go Jahmyr Gibbs. If you're a JJ truther, you can go JJ. Some CD Lamb guys would go CD Lamb. You could even go Saquon Barkley, who was the RB1 last year. But at this point, I'm going – to me, it's between JJ and Bijan, but I'm going to go Bijan here. I think he is the clear guy for RB1 this year. But oftentimes that doesn't happen. But that's who I'm going with here. All right. So, wide receiver takes a big hit here pretty early. And if you have someone that you're like, oh, you got to go with this guy right here, you got to go with this guy, be active in the comment section. I'm going to be checking to see what you're saying. So make sure you're doing that. But right here, it's obviously been wide receiver heavy because, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 running backs have gone compared to like the 12 or 13 wide receivers that have gone. So we need to take that into account. But we can pretty much go any route we want to right now. To me, I'm going with the ADP update. I'm going Rashee Rice right here. He is a top 12 guy, in my opinion, at least top 12, probably higher. So he plays in an elite offense with Patrick Mahomes. He's the wide receiver 1. Had all the things going right for him last year, except for the injury. When you look at that small sample size, I know, but when you look at the 4 games that he played in last year, or the 3 games that he played in last year, he was just an animal. He generated so many receptions and targets, and just a great stuff. So I need a wide receiver 1 pretty badly here, and I think one of the last elite guys you can get at this point at the end of round 2, when 12 guys have already been taken. I'm going Rashee Rice right here. So let's go. All right. Now, here's what I was kind of thinking right here. So I was hoping that one of the quarterbacks would fall. But here's the thing with the quarterbacks. I know I can get a good guy like a solid quarterback like Bo Nix pretty late, like several rounds from now. But, you know, Bo Nix definitely isn't competing with Josh Allen, Lamar, or Jaden Daniels. So that's the dilemma here. I could go Chase Brown and have a really, really strong um, running back room. Or I can just say, you know what, I really want to have another anchor on my team, and I'm going to get one of those elite quarterbacks. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that provides a lot of value to the team. So I am going to go with Josh Allen. And yes, I see your comment there, Blitz. The production from 2023 as well. Yes, there's a lot of good production from him in his rookie year in 2023, and it transitioned into 2024. And now we're going to see it all come together in 2025. So, but I'm going to go Josh Allen here. Actually, this is what I do. This is what I do every time I'm on the clock in one of these situations, especially with these elite quarterbacks. I love taking guys like Josh Allen, Lamar, or Jaden Daniels, but when a guy like Chase Brown is there, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. You know what? I think we went with elite quarterback last time, or we did the time before, or maybe both. I'm gonna go Chase Brown, and we can get another good quarterback later. I know we can get another good quarterback. I was kind of hoping Hurts would fall to us, but he didn't. But that's all right. That is all right. We still could get Joe Burrow, and that would be pretty nice. But yeah, I'm gonna go with probably another wide receiver here. I probably need to go with another wide receiver here, because this is a really, really wide receiver heavy format. It looks like for some reason wide receivers are just flying, and there's still a lot of good value at running back. So I'm going to go MHJ as my wide receiver 2. I think he can put up really good numbers this year. I would say the safer bet is Courtland Sutton, but they have added a lot of weapons to this offense. Still think he's the clear number 1 option, but there wasn't much to compete with last year. I think there's more to compete with this year. But I still think he's a safe bet. But I'm going to go Harrison Jr. for, I think, the safe bet and the upside. So I'm going to go MHJ here. All right. Now, Joe Burrow's here in the 5th, but I don't know. I'm just not really feeling like going Joe Burrow. I want a guy who's going to run the ball when it comes to that. So, man, this is tough. This is really tough. I'm going to go. Oh, man, Chuba's there too. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, this is really, really hard. But I'm going to go. Sutton is still there. I'm kind of debating between Chuba, Chris Godwin, and Courtland Sutton. I think that's where my mind is at right now. Oh man. I'm gonna go Courtland Sutton. Yeah, I'm gonna go Courtland Sutton and kind of help out this wide receiver room a little bit. Even though it's still got 2 strong guys, I would say my running back room is definitely stronger. So I think I'm gonna balance it out a little bit and go with Courtland Sutton. Although Chris Godwin is intriguing here, and he was a guy I loved last year. I was all over him, and he got hurt, unfortunately. He was doing great. He was the wide receiver 1 or 2 before he got hurt, and man, he really, really he was on to something really good last year, and he got hurt. And I want to like him here again this year. He's not as good of a value, but the injury scares me because he's an older guy, because they just drafted Emeka Egbuka, because we don't know what the slot role is going to be like this year because Liam Cohen's gone. He was what was making Chris Godwin so great. And I'm just still not confident that Chris Godwin is going to be available week 1. And so for that reason, I'm going to go Cortland Sutton here. He's still the number 1 target in a really good offense when we're talking about the Broncos offense. And unfortunately, the guy I was going to take next just goes right before us in Patrick Mahomes. That is really unfortunate, but that's all right. That's all right. We've still got options. But man, oh my goodness, we've got really, really solid options here. I really want to go with one of these wide receivers. I want to go JMO. Here. Or Judy, even. But, man. Oh, no. I just lost the page. Oh, no. Okay, we got to resim it. It may not be exactly how it was, though, is the issue. Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious, guys. That's my bad. That is my bad. All right. Well, we're just going to restart and go from the beginning with a different scenario. But Rashid Rice goes at the beginning of the second round in this draft. So, okay, whatever. We'll redo it. We were on something good, but that's all right. But Bucky Irving falls right here. It's a no-brainer in my mind. I'm going Bucky here in round 2. All right. I'm not going to go Chase Brown. I'm not going to go Chase Brown again because we already have Bucky. I'm going to go Devontae Adams. I think he's a potential top 12 guy who is going, as a wide receiver too. So I'm going to take him as a budget wide receiver 1. Right here. Okay, Jalen Hurts is available to us here at pick number 4. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on that. Get us an elite quarterback. And then we can go MHJ or Cortland Sutton here or DK. But I'm going to go MHJ again. I really like MHJ this year, guys. I think he can do some really, really great stuff. We cannot forget that this was a guy who walked in to the league last year as one of the best wide receiver prospects we've ever had. So I think we could see some success from him this year. I know last year was rough. But here I don't need a quarterback, and I've got, I'm balanced at running back and wide receiver. So I can pretty much do whatever I want here. And with that in mind, I'm going to go Jerry Jeudy. Get us another solid wide receiver, a flex guy. And then I'm going to nail our starting lineup down and get a guy who I think can put up top 5 numbers in Travis Kelce. I talked about it a little bit last week about Travis Kelce. I think he's being slept on this year. People are forgetting about what Travis can do for your fantasy squad. Okay. I am going to grab, let's see. Okay. I'm not used to doing drafts over here. I don't do them on this platform too often, so I'm trying to familiarize myself with the ADP a little bit. I'm going to go B-Rob here. He's an RB1 and a really good offense, one that's projected top 5 numbers. So I'm going B-Rob. He's gonna definitely see a lot of touchdowns, a lot of red zone work. I like B-Rob here as my RB3 in round 8. ETN just went. I was probably going to go him with my next pick. Cooper Kupp is intriguing. Cooper Kupp is really intriguing as my wide receiver 4. Debo has already gone. Diggs has already gone. Jennings. Oh, man. their ADP is a lot more tough than some of the other ADP, honestly. I'm gonna go with Cooper Kupp right here. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cooper Kupp. I think he's being a little slept on in round 9. So let's see. Oh man, Egbuka gone. That sucks. Jordan Mason gone. Man, guys that I thought would have fallen to round 10 did not fall to round 10. That is crazy. Like, how is Bo Nix not gone yet? But some of these, like Keelan Coleman, that's the thing with some of this ADP is like Keelan Coleman going before Bo Nix just doesn't make sense. And some of these teams don't have a quarterback yet. Like team 1 doesn't have a quarterback yet. Team 8 or team 6 doesn't have a quarterback. That's insane. Anyways, I don't really want Rashad White. Dallas Goedert is a guy we were talking about earlier, but I would rather get him a little bit than that. Oh man, this is pretty eaten up. Not gonna lie, their ADP is interesting. Definitely interesting. Okay, let's look. I've got 4 wide receivers and 3 running backs. I probably need to get me a running back, especially with how. Oh yeah, I can get him later though. I don't see him going before some of these guys. So I'm gonna grab Ray Davis. I think he has a larger role this year. And some of y'all James Cook truthers might be shaking in your boots right now, but I think Ray Davis has a bigger role this year, and I like his value. I am going to go. Yeah. I'm gonna go. This is tough. I'm debating between Adam Thielen and Kyle Williams. That's who I'm debating between. I've got a lot of vet guys, and I've got a lot of vet guys, so I could kind of take a little bit of a stab, but Kyle Williams could be there at our next pick. I'm gonna go Thielen to give us a little bit more safety at the position, and hope that some of the guys that I want fall back down to me. Oh man, I was gonna go J.K. Dobbins. Oh, that would have been so nice to get J.K. Dobbins as our RB5. I should have went with him over Davis. That's all right. That's all right. It's just the way the board falls. But here I'm gonna go Kyle Williams to take a flyer, and now we've got our RB or our wide receiver 6. So we're looking really good at that position. We need to find some really sneaky guys here at the running back position to help us out a little bit. Not gonna lie. Let's look at running backs. Who's left? Oh, Kareem Hunt's there. I like Kareem Hunt. And I like Miles Sanders. Yeah, I'm gonna go Kareem Hunt and hope that Miles Sanders falls back to us. Because I think Miles Sanders, he's been getting talked up in OTAs. He apparently he's been running with the ones over Javonte. And Javonte goes in round 8. So I'm going to take a stab here at Miles Sanders. I know he has not been a good fantasy running back for a while now, but I don't see anyone better here to go with at pick round 14. So let's take a shot on old Miles Sanders. One last ride. And then here on defense, we're going to go we're going to go with the Ravens. They always have a pretty solid defense. Liking it. I'm liking it. This is a pretty solid team, I think. It's a pretty solid team. Let's go with let's just go with Harrison Butker. Yeah, I think this is a pretty solid team. You know, I've got an elite quarterback in Jalen Hurts. I've got my running back. My running back room looks amazing in the starting lineup. Bijan and Bucky. I think those are 2 top 5 guys easily. And then a little sneaky wide receiver room in Devontae Adams, MHJ, Jerry Jeudy in my starting lineup. And then I've got a little bit of a sneaky vet in Travis Kelce at my tight end position. And then, you know, we got B-Rob to help us out a little bit in the running back room. Right? And then some flyer guys like Ray Davis, Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders. And then also some good vets and sneaky guys on our bench at wide receiver. Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, Kyle Williams. I think it's a pretty solid draft overall. Definitely some of the ADP is a little bit whack to me, but you just never know with these automated ones. Like I don't think I've ever seen Rashee Rice go this early in a draft before. And then I haven't seen Garrett Wilson go that early in a draft before. And I definitely haven't seen Josh Downs. Where was it? I saw Josh Downs go way early. Like really, really early. He was way up here. Where was he? I'm looking at the wrong color. I think that's what it was. Oh man. Yeah, like round 8. I've never seen Josh Downs go in round 8. Never. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I think we drafted a pretty good team. And yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here for tonight. So thank you all for tuning in. Again, go follow me over on Fantasy Football Huddle on Instagram. And I hope you liked the live stream, number one. So if you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so that you are up to date on everything we're doing over here on the YouTube channel. Turn on your post notifications as well so that you can know when I'm going live or when I post something over here on YouTube. And then, like I said, go over to the Instagram. There's tons of content over there. Go over to the Facebook page. Tons of content over there. And then go over to the Patreon where all my exclusive content is going to be. I've got 3 packages for you that you can purchase. You can become a member of the Fantasy Football Huddle, and you are going to not regret it. You are going to win your league this year. I'm going to help you the best of my ability to do so, but I'm pretty confident that we can get you a win in at least one of your leagues this year. But go do that. Like I said, like the stream up, go subscribe, and thanks for tuning in. I had a blast. Let's do it again next Thursday. I'll see you then. We'll see you throughout the week as well over on the other pages. But for tonight, I'm wrapping it up. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.